Gender inequality is defined by the unequal treatment of one sex over another. Is this something that occurs in our society as well as many others around the world? Absolutely. Men are seen as the ones responsible for going to work and making money, while women should be left at home to do chores and raise children. This is just one example of the way that inequality is expressed in our country, but there are other discriminatory acts that people all over the world face each day, such as the exponential increase in the number of domestic violence charges against women throughout the world. A lot of these violent acts result in death, causing women to sometimes fear their own homes. Throughout this course, I have read many articles about the different ways that women are treated unfairly and oppressed in many countries around the world, such as Germany, China, France, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and India. Each in their own way has used either legislation or religious practices to discriminate between men and women, oftentimes making women the inferior beings. But these women are not just sitting around and accepting this unfair treatment. They are joining together and fighting and creating legislation, participating in protests, and becoming educated about their rights as human beings, as well as in other subjects. For instance, one of the first articles that I discussed was about a group in France who was protesting the business of prostitution, and that it was posing a threat to women who were forced into the industry and then violently abused as well as exploited. Women were trying to get legislation passed that would prohibit prostitution and protect these women. Another issue took place in India, where a group of women were protesting the nomination of a political figure to office because he saw nothing wrong with a gang rape that happened against a woman in his country. The women who were protesting didn't want him representing them in office and held a protest. Also in Iran, women are becoming more educated in the field of literacy and using their new knowledge to change the way their society views them. They are taking the rules and practices that once oppressed them and tweaking them in their own ways so that these new practices now empower them. So what does gender inequality have to do with sociology? All over the world, women are subjected to unequal treatment through lower wages, violence, and other factors that put them underneath men on the social spectrum, when in reality women are just as equal to men and should be treated as such. To look at this issue from the viewpoint of a man in the U.S. is interesting, because oftentimes men don't even realize the privileges they have just because they are born male. People respect them more, and they have a higher chance at being successful in the business world because of this respect. The truth is, we can't blame these inequalities on the men themselves, at least not some of them, because they're merely conforming to the views of society and our culture, and the viewpoints are what we need to change. Both men and women feel the need to conform to social roles that are given to them from the moment they are conceived. If people would stop placing these arbitrary gender roles on each other, maybe there would be a sense of community instead of competition throughout our society. Overall, the inequalities that exist between our genders can eventually be gone if the population decides that men and women are equal. Violence may decrease, and women will be making more money, which will allow both men and women to be able to spend more time at home and with their families to raise more successful members of society.
Created using Powtoon.